YouTube, Capital G here, giving you guys a quick deck profile of what I took to the Charlotte Regionals over the weekend. To a lot of people's surprise, I played Altergeist. I was never actually going to play Salamangreats at this event, just because I have Salamangreat fatigue at this point. Altergeist performed incredibly well. I was actually quite surprised, and honestly, it never felt like anybody outplayed me or I couldn't win any matchup. I lost twice to Salamangreat, which was infuriating because neither player actually outplayed me or anything like that. It was just new time rules are OP, man. This deck does not do a lot of damage very quickly, and you always play Solemn. So in both situations, I am +4 or +5 against my opponent. They have one card. I believe the second guy had a Gazelle. The first guy had a Spinny summoned from the graveyard. They have absolutely no plays except, I guess, going to, Banlinks or something like that. But time ends up being called, and they end up winning the game because they simply have a life point lead. Both players would have told you that if the game goes another turn, I end up easily winning. But them be the breaks with Altergeist. The deck doesn't do damage very well or very fast, so if you go into time, there is a high chance you are going to lose. And that's really the biggest fault with the deck. But anyways, let me go ahead and show you guys what I ran. What I like, what I didn't like, etc., etc. The monster lineup is super standard with Altergeist. We are not going to try to reinvent the wheel, and there is no reinventing the wheel. Cap G's personal favorite is always Milusi. You guys should know that. That beautiful blue that she is just way too gorgeous to ever consider any other Altergeist my favorite. We got 3 copies of Mary, 3 copies of Multi-Faker. We run the standard 2 Silquidius, and then also Konkori. I think that this is 100% the standard 12 of Altergeist. I did side out Konkori a decent amount against Salamangreat because in that matchup, like, Sky Striker don't have enough offense ever to pressure you, so Konkori can like stop their entire battle phase, and Thunder Dragons try to brute force through everything, so like this is a perfect card to counter brute force. But Salamangreats can attack you with their traps, they can attack you with their monsters, they can spin your stuff, so they have a good mix, and Konkori like isn't really that good against like super control decks that have a good amount of offense as well. We played a very minimalistic hand trap lineup. I took a very kind of minimal approach when it came to the hand trap, so we ran 3 copies of Ash and just 2 copies of Ogre. You do not really want to run that many hand traps in this deck, honestly. I would probably even cut the Ogres and just run the Ash, simply because like hand traps they don't really feel like they work that well in Altergeist. Like, you'd rather just have like other trap cards. That's gonna sound really weird, I know, but the way that I kind of built this deck, I thought it was fine. I did want a hand trap because I considered DD Crow because I saw it in a top 8 Altergeist video, but I thought that Ogre would be a little better against some of the more roguish matchups outside of the big 3, like against Guru Control and also against like Pendulums, which Endymions were coming out, so I had to worry about that deck as well. 3 copies of what I consider to be the best trap card in Yu-Gi-Oh! This card is just bananas. Honestly, I probably, until Marin's Test come out, I probably will not run a deck that can't run Extravagance because I just believe this card is so incredibly good. And if Pot of Extravagance was not a thing, I would not run Altergeist. Like, there's no way I would consider like playing an Altergeist build with Desires or anything. Card is just nuts, and every time I resolved it, not only was I happy, it never really mattered because I only summoned 2 cards from my extra deck. We have your Infinite Impermanence. This is, I guess, your other hand trap. This is the reason you don't run Valor in this deck. It is a trap card. It triggers Multi-Faker, and even if you never get the turn 0 Multi-Faker play, as I did not, it doesn't matter. It's still a trap card, which makes it better than Effect Valor because at other points in the duel, you might resolve Multi-Faker off of this card, and that actually happened. I set this from Wiretap, actually. Excuse me, not Wiretap. Red Reboot. My opponent couldn't kill me in the Zephyra Endymion matchup, and this helped me summon Multi-Faker. To Cap G's personal spice of the day, I decided to just go ahead and main deck evenly match. A kid in Tennessee made top 8 with Altergeist, and he was doing this, and I was like, that might actually be low-key genius, and it actually was. If you go first, it's fine. It's just like one dead card. It's really not that big of a deal. However, it does extremely mitigate going second in this deck. And if you go against like a salad board, at least it can get rid of the roar so that you don't summon like your Mary into it and just get like wrecked or something like that. And then against decks like Thunder Dragons, it will get rid of their negate. Against Sky Striker, it's just a fucking blowout because they have no way of stopping it. So the card is good. I would run evenly match again in the future. 3 copies of a card that was actually super underwhelming, Personal Spoofy. honestly, my intuition was telling me just to run 2 copies of this, but I decided against my better judgment to run 3. I would not run this card at 3 in the future. Quite frankly, as crazy as this is going to sound, I might even just run 1. Once you resolve it one time, it doesn't really have that much more usefulness, honestly. 2 copies, or excuse me, 3 copies of Solemn Strike, and then we ran a Warning and a Judgment. I really need to go ahead and drop $5 to get an Ultra Warning. I ran a full Solemn Brigade because this deck, like, Solemns are extremely good. The problem is, in game 3, man, them life points, as you get close to time, those things will, like, it'll definitely hurt you. But overall, these cards are phenomenal. Like, against Salamangreats, they were just ripping that deck to shreds. I was making sure my opponent's Balances were not useful in any way by Solemning, like, inherent summons, like, you know, Link summons and normal summons and stuff like that. These cards are great. I would probably consider cutting one of them. I would definitely work Manhunt into this deck, 100%. I ran 2 copies of Summon Limit. This card was one of the best cards in the entire deck. I destroyed both Salamangreat players game 1, and they both won the die roll, but it didn't matter because Summon Limit just honestly took over the game. Card was just way too good. Just let them summon a couple of times. Even if they have Fox in the graveyard, sorry, you're just basically stuck at that point. I ran 2 Protocol and a Manifestation. This is just like standard for Altergeist, so you don't really need to explain that. I did not miss a second copy of this, although if you would have asked me last year, I'd have been like, what? 1 Manifestation? That's crazy talk. And then for the last card, we ran 1 copy of just Wreck Sky Striker. Played Sky Striker in this event, 2-0'd him. He made me go first, and the second duel, he tried to pull the old, you're going to overside. Didn't matter. I opened with Imperial Order, and I was just like, game, I guess. Anyways, that was the main deck. To the extra deck, which literally only 2 cards are relevant, I played 3 copies of Hextia. I do have Ultras on the way. They just didn't arrive in time with the new updated text. Yeah, this is one of the cards you'll go into. The second card you'll go into is 3 Link Karibos. This is basically just a, summon Miluseek, go into it, get a search. Other than that, I did not use any other card in this entire extra deck. So this is all filler. So you guys can just run whatever the fuck you want. Ningirasu, Deco, Nightmare Phoenix. I think maybe I would consider a Boil Sword, but I think there was only like 1 time in the entire tournament I could have summoned it. I ran 2 copies of Violet Chimera because of some cards I ran in my side deck. You guys will see that momentarily. And then just to prove how much you did not need the extra deck, I decided to run some cards I just personally like. So we ran Lady Booty Diamond. We ran Leo Dancer because that's Cap G's favorite card in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! And then we ran Metaphors Mithrium. This should have been an Amazoness Empress, but I actually don't own one. So I got to pick that up because in the future, I'll probably play more extravagance decks and I'll just have free space to run, fusion cards of cute girls because, Fusion Master Race. But yeah, half of this extra deck can honestly just be troll shit because you're not going to summon anything other than Link Karibo and freaking Hextia anyways. To the side deck, Cap G ran 2 copies of Fusion of Fire. Okay, so this is going to sound weird, right? My ideology against Salamangreat is to blind seconds in game 3. If you beat them game 2, okay, whatever. But let's just say you win game 1. They're going to go first game 2. But I like to go second. I really don't feel like Altergeist because Salamangreat have so many goddamn extenders, especially after they sided things like Pancatrops. It's way too hard to go first against their deck and to fight or to basically have your board hold up against all the cards they're going to throw at you. So I would rather go second and try to hit one of these cards. Fusion of Fire is great. Either it's going to resolve and you're going to fuck them up, or it's going to bait out the roar, and that's fine too because now you can actually play. I played 3 copies of Secret Village, hit this against Pendulums, hit this against Sky Striker, hit this against Guard Dragons. All of them were just like, I can't do anything, and it was a free win. 2 copies of Artifact Lancia just against Thunder Dragons. 3 copies of what I still consider to be arguably the best card in Yu-Gi-Oh! But it was actually mediocre in this deck. Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. This card conflicts so hard with Multi-Faker, right? Basically, if you draw this card ever after turn 1, it is so dead because you're trying to resolve Multi-Faker a lot after turn 1, and this card and Multi-Faker do not work together. They just clash. And in decks like Salamangreat and Thunder Dragons, there's never like a conflict. But again, in this deck, there is. So I honestly would cut this from the deck completely. It was not really that good. And it's weird that I'm saying that about a card that I think is, one of the best cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! 3 Pancatrops. This was fine. Again, just another like going second card against Salamangreat. These are all cards that go second against Salamangreat, and just hopefully you hit one of your power cards. And then 2 copies of Wiretap. If I am playing against Thunder Dragons or Sky Striker, I do opt to go first in that 3rd game. And these are just ways of stopping like evenly match. If they don't have it, you're in good shape. Thunder Dragons also maybe not playing evenly match, but they'll play Red Reboot, and that actually like it stops them. My Zephyra Endymion matchup, my opponent Red Rebooted me, but thank God he couldn't kill me because that would have been a nightmare. But yeah, this is supposed to be for any deck that you think is going to bring in evenly or Red Reboot, but you're going first again. So that was my deck profile, guys. It performed really good, or really well, I should say, because English. I think that if I was looking for changes, I would almost certainly cut the Ghost Ogres. I would cut Spoofy down to 1, and I would probably drop 3 Manhunt in this deck. This deck needs another like powerful trap card. I would probably put some generic Link 2s in the deck, like cards that just point down, maybe like a Nightmare Phoenix, and then yeah, I would play Amazoness Empress because like I like that card. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already, and turn on that notification bell for daily videos.